Okay, so enough about the theory. In practice, having considered our options, some of us will decide to rebrand our institutions. Can you put your hand up if you've been involved in a rebrand in some way in your institution? So probably about half the audience. Maybe you've heard reasons cited like wanting to be more contemporary, wanting to be more forward-looking. And maybe we'll decide that amongst the positioning tools at our disposal, a rebrand is worth the risk. And I say worth the risk because rebrands can and do sometimes go wrong. Does anybody recognise these three names? Scott, Hiran, and Emily are all students or recent graduates. And with varying levels of success, they have led digital revolts against 5- and 6-figure rebrands at the universities of Loughborough, King's College London, and to a lesser degree, Warwick University. So I want to look in a bit more detail at 3 cautionary tales. We could call them rebrand casualties. And then I want to look at a couple of successful rebrands and see what we might learn from them. Back in 2012, the University of California decided it was time to rebrand. The Huffington Post put it this way, I'm going to read a quote. For the past 144 years, the University of California has stuck with a signature look, a seal with a simple motto, let there be light. But this year, the prestigious public institution seemed to have an identity crisis and did what any self-conscious teen might do. They got a total makeover. The updated seal wipes away the Victorian excess of the previous emblem, opting instead for beachy hues and trendy sleekness. Let's just have a look for a second. I've got about a 40-second launch video here that launched this new brand. Okay, so we get the idea, nice piece of work. The Huffington Post article then takes an even more cynical and sardonic tone. It goes on to say, the minimalist attempt at contemporary style, it says, has infuriated many who didn't mind a university emblem with, you know, a classy sounding motto and an emphasis on books. Designed by an in-house team, the new logo, which was quietly unveiled in November, is causing an uproar among students, faculty, and people with eyes everywhere. Ouch. That's harsh, isn't it? One student, Tomo Hirai, had mocked the new logo by posting his own online version with a spinning C, resembling a computer operating system that was endlessly stalled. We laugh at these things, but within a week, this response was issued by the university's senior vice president for external relations. Again, I'll let you read it. It's sobering, isn't it? And I have no idea, I can't find out how much they spent on this exercise. But the University of California suspended the use of the new logo and have since entirely eradicated its use. It's gone. 2 years later, 2014, saw King's College London announce its plans to drop the word college from its name and to be known as King's London. They described it as a very modest repositioning to address confusion with FE colleges and the academic colleges of Oxbridge. King's principal Ed Byrne said this. Again, I'll let you read that. A reasonable statement, but Emily Braddock, a second-year theology student who led the campaign against the proposed new name, she said that it would undermine almost 200 years of tradition, as well as sabotaging a worldwide reputation built on the name King's College London. And whether we agree with Professor Byrne, the principal, or with Emily, the student, the fact is that the narrative that she spoke the narrative that she articulated in favour of no change proved to be more compelling than the one that the university managed to articulate. A petition to block the plan gathered 6,000 signatures in 24 hours. Critically, claims that the university had consulted student groups as part of the research process were also called into question publicly. And ultimately, the university backtracked over its decision and called a halt on the £300,000 rebrand. In 2015, Loughborough University announced it changed its logo. At the time, what was Loughborough's Director of Marketing and Advancement saying about the redesign? This is the month before its release. She said that it was the first digital logo device in higher education. Really? The first digital logo device? She went on to describe the new logo, this is again before it had even been launched, as a visually agile, dynamic image that will allow us to take advantage of advances in technology. Now, hindsight can be terribly cruel, can't it? But I think we have to face the fact that these quotes, selective, massively selective, though they no doubt were, they reveal an unhelpful focus upon visual identity, the logo as the star of the show, as opposed to a more healthy focus on the distinctive values, the achievements, the milestones, the behaviours of Loughborough University and of Loughborough University students and alumni. By contrast, Loughborough graduate Scott Lawrence, who set up the petition to revoke the new logo, said that the university's existing shield emblem, an already modern take on the traditional crest, he said it was an iconic reminder of the prestige, heritage and respect associated with the institution, whereas the new one, he said, loses all of these values. The number of signatories on the change.org petition climbed to 12,000. Not only did Loughborough halt their rebrand, they then went on to take what I think is a bewildering step of adopting a massively more traditional-looking crest-based logo that really could not be any more conservative if it tried, and that is the new identity of Loughborough University. Okay, so it's great for us, isn't it, gloating over these? These are the poor sods who have failed miserably in their attempted rebrands. Who's managed it successfully? Let's focus on them for a moment. I'd like to first just to make a passing mention of Lancaster University, partly because they've recently adopted a more traditional crest-based design in place of the previous modern incarnation on the left. But I think they managed to get it right. I was actually there for a visit with my daughter at the point at which they were making this transition, and you went into some rooms, like the big presentations, had the new visual identity on, but the smaller rooms still had the old visual identity. And it was literally like walking from a red brick university with the newer, more traditional one, into an old sort of 1994 polytechnic. It really was that significant. And that, I would say, you know, visual identity is far from everything. It's a tiny slither, as I said before, of your brand, but it can make a real difference, and it did to me on that open day first impression. Warwick University then. Warwick is really interesting and a piece of work that I rate, because they got away with their rebrand by the skin of their teeth. Within 24 hours of launch, a student petition gathered over 5,000 signatures. The petition urged the university to halt the rebranding process now and consult students before any more money is spent. And it mentions a lack of communication and the general disconnect that the university currently had with its students. It was a really, really loud protest vote from the student body, much of it directed at the VC, who wasn't getting on very well at that particular moment. But despite the backlash, this really important, Warwick had done the hard work of consultation, and they had a story to tell. They held their mettle and they went into communication and consultation overdrive in order to save the day. And here's their excellent public FAQ page, which goes into enormous detail about the process, the people who were consulted, the costs, and critically the why, the reasons behind the institution choosing to rebrand at that particular moment. They held their ground, and the new brand has been retained.